Harvard Summer Program here for about 4.5 weeks, I believe. And yeah, just there's a bunch of different classes right now. Right now we're in world history. We're learning about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And about upstanders, and you have to be one of the upstanders that we learned about.
Okay.
So yeah.
Good. Now, how much time do we have right now here?
We have as many as you would like.
As much time as you would like. All right. So I have a lunch appointment, but other than that. Great. So we are here to learn about the Charles River and the Conservancy. Is that one of the goals?
Yep, exactly.
And I also would love to learn from you, how you as young people who live in the region, how you can engage with the river, what the river means to you. So I'm going to take notes myself because I would love to know how you view the river. But I'll be glad to answer your questions, and then you're going to wake up, I promise you.
Well, we'd like to thank you for having this time to come meet with us.
It's my pleasure.
And well, one other question that I'd like to ask, what influenced you to get into the Charles River, like to help conserve it?
Into the river, swimming, literally. It is my bringing up in Switzerland. I used to swim in rivers in Switzerland. And when I came to this country in 1979, I wanted to make this river swimmable. I wanted to swim in the Charles River. And so 13 years ago, I started an organization, the Charles River Conservancy, and one of the goals was to be able to swim in that river. So that's how it started. So the word conserving the river is a misleading word because the river has been flowing for tens of thousands of years. And then as the settlers arrived, around when did people start making the river, dirty the river? Around when was that? When would you think that happened?
Probably maybe like the mid-1500s, 1800s, maybe?
Mid-1800s. Okay, some other guesses here. When did people start to mess up the river? Middle of 1920s. Well, I'm afraid it was much earlier. It was really the settlers. And what did the settlers do with the river?
They probably tried, since they didn't really know how to fish, they probably tried like different methods that ended up polluting it maybe.
Yeah, and how did it get polluted? Yeah, and why would they dump waste in it? What kind of waste?
Like trash stuff.
Yeah, trash, absolutely. They built mills because they wanted to capture the energy of the river. And then whatever byproduct they had, they would throw into the river. There were slaughterhouses, and guess where all the blood and the bodies went, bones, whatever didn't come out as a sausage went right into the river. So probably from about 1700 on, the river was pretty much open sewage. So it took a long time to clean that up again. It's not the cleanest urban river in America, but there was a lot of fixing history again. Yeah. So this river,
Jimmy.
any of you have ever swum in the river?
No.
No? Are you
I
ready?
actually fell in it.
You fell in it?
Crew.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I turned the boat over too early.
That's all right. And you survived. Look, you're doing perfectly fine.
It's kind of thick, but yeah.
It was kind of what?
The water was like thick.
Thick?
Like when I went in and came back up, saying about very good swimmer, so kind of the water a little bit.
Oh, so how deep did you go?
It wasn't deep, but I could still see like the shallow part. But like I was like fighting. I thought I was deeper than I thought.
Did you touch the bottom?
No.
No. How do you imagine the bottom of the river? How do you feel? What's there?
Probably mucky, like because it might be from all the sewage, like not sewage, but like all the waste that's been in it, and mud building up down there.
Yeah. Imagine black mayonnaise. I always think that's a good image. Not pretty. Not pretty at all. The sediments are really bad. So there is a big job. If you're interested in environmental engineering, this is a job that still needs to be solved. We haven't solved that one yet. what other programs, other than what?
In the Charles River Conservation, and we heard you were also involved in a lot of nonprofit work. So like we'd like to know if there's any other programs you did.
All right. Well, I have worked on many different nonprofit projects. The Conservancy is the last 13 years. But for instance, one project that might interest you is I served on the board of the Cambridge Historical Society, and I figured history, can be a very abstract thing in books and numbers. So how can we bring it alive? So it was my idea to bring Benjamin Franklin alive. So I found an actor who played Benjamin Franklin, and we organized a dinner. And I asked other members of the society, would you be willing to come to dinner with Benjamin Franklin? Are you willing to dress up in the period of Benjamin Franklin? Are you willing to do your homework? If you are a particular person of that period. Do you know when Benjamin Franklin lived, roughly?
I believe it was like 1600s, around. I know it was early, like in the settlements, but I don't really understand.
All right, give me some guesses here of when Benjamin Franklin lived. What would you associate Benjamin Franklin with?
American Revolution.
Sorry?
American Revolution.
The Revolution. All right, what else do you associate him with? He was involved in what? He invented some things.
Benjamin Franklin.
Benjamin Franklin, now what did he invent?
This is the not the light bulb. No.
Electricity.
That was Edison.
What was it?
The thing with the key.
No.
He-
That was George Washington.
Oh.
It was one of them. I have on too much long.
Anyway, he was an 18th century man. He lived also in the early 19th century. And so I suggested that people dress up like people in that era and would engage in a conversation with him. So they had to actually study up. They had to figure out, what did Benjamin Franklin do? So if you have a whole dinner to spend time with, you kind of want to know something about that person. Some people dressed up like in the era of Benjamin Franklin and took on personalities so they could have conversations. And those who were a bit more timid, they could be the flies on the wall. They would all dress just in black and just literally stand on the wall and watch the conversation. And then we had the local CCTV station film it all, and then we analyzed the conversations. So that was, as I was on the board of the Historical Society, a non-profit effort I made. So before today, did you have a chance to look at the website? Did you have a chance to look at the website of the Conservancy?
Oh, well, I wasn't aware of this.
All right, so I give you a hint. If you ever go for an interview or a lecture, always go and Google the person and the organization they're with. I once had a young person came for a job, and I said, what does the Charles River Conservancy do? He said, oh, I thought you were going to tell me. I said, no, you come here for an interview. You do your homework. So whenever you go for a job, a summer job, or a job after college internship, do your homework. But the internet makes it really easy to do that. So go and Google the person that you are going to meet, Google the organization, and try to learn, memorize these 3 things that you could ask that person. So that's an important lesson to learn, because that's how you learn the most, when you are prepared for a conversation.
How are the efforts to conserve it going? You said, I remember you just said that you still need to solve the problem on the bottom of
The sediments, that's right.
Is there any other problems, or like everything else moving smoothly?
Oh no, but there are a lot of problems when you have to clean up 300 years of industrial waste. There are a lot of problems. First of all, perception. People, they watch the Red Sox game, and what do they play when the Red Sox win? What do they play? What song do they play?
Is it Caroline.
Close.
That's one
Close.
song. Another one.
Think.
What has to do with the river? I guess these are not Red Sox fans. Are these all Yankee fans?
Doesn't look like. I don't know. Celtics fans. They played after the Celtics win too.
That's right. They played it.
God Bless America? No.
It's called "Love That Dirty
They bought.
Water."
Oh.
Not the stand
Yeah.
out. So people have been brainwashed for a long time, the Red Sox fan and the Celtics fans. Whenever they win, they play that song. So it's hard when you are at every game you hear that message to suddenly realize, oh, this is a different, the river has changed. So to change perception is a major problem. So then you have to overcome the actual dirty water, and then you have to overcome the perception of dirty water. Yeah, so there's still a lot of issues to be solved. And that means also the dirty water, what color did the water have that you fell into?
Let's see. Brownish green.
Brown. And why is the water brown? What's your guess? Why is the water brown? Filthy? What makes, assume it's not filthy. People did swim in it 2 weeks ago, so it's not filthy. What else could it be?
Mud. Muck. Like dirt and water, like sandballs floating like that.
Yeah, sand would sink down. What could, you're on the right track there. What, you drink sometimes something that is not clear? Do you ever drink coffee, tea?
Yeah.
Tea. Think of tea. What makes tea brown?
The leaves and
that are inside
yeah.
the tea bag.
That's right. It's. I mean, the river. It's the tannin. It's the because it flows through leaves, just like tea leaves, and it picks up the tannin. That's why it's brown. That doesn't mean it has bacteria or dirt, because the dirt normally settles down. Sand and dirt settles down. But the tannin stays in the water. That's why the water is brown. It doesn't mean it's not, you can't swim in it. Yeah.
What got you interested in the plan in the beginning?
Okay, what plan are you talking about?
She answered that really.
That's all right. Keep asking. I'm just giving you a little bit of resistance because I want you to answer you some of your questions.
Let's see. Does skating and biking around the river help you think more way to improve your plan?
Yeah, if you biked along the river, what would it do for you? How do you bike?
Like used to until I don't have a bike anymore.
You don't have a bike anymore. Well, get a new bike and lock it up. Biking is a great way to not only to get around, but to think. I do a lot of my thinking on my bike, because on my bike I look at the river, I can stop at any moment, I can talk to people at any moment, I can take pictures. I do a lot of my thinking on the bike. So I also want to make it easier for people to bike along the river. I actually brought a map here. So
May I see the map?
sorry?
May I see the map?
You want to help me open it? Can you get it out? All right. So this river is a great place to bike. So I want to make it easier. You might want to twist it so it can, don't tear it out. Don't tear it. That's it. Because it needs the cover again for the rain. So make it smaller. Twist it inside. Here, let me help you. No.
Like, can I,
Go inside with your finger. Here.
I think I'm
All right, you got it? Excellent. All right. Good. Okay, now let me. Okay, here, take that, take that. Okay, so this is the river. And let's figure out where we are here. Who can show me where we are? How are you going to go?
right here.
Right here. All right, well.
I don't know.
No, no. So
Like so many
what,
buildings.
what do you recognize on this map?
Well, very big river.
Big river, all right. And what part of the river have you crossed one of the bridges?
Crossed many of the bridges.
You crossed some of the bridges?
Yeah.
Okay, what bridge might you have crossed?
The BU bridge.
The BU bridge, okay, come and show me the BU bridge.
Uh-oh.
The BU bridge is a special bridge because it's a double bridge. It has cars and railroads. Do you see anywhere a double bridge?
Is it near like Library Drive?
That close.
Any of the bridges
That's,
here have you crossed?
the Mass Ave Bridge. That's for the next. That's for the
The
next
names
one.
are on them, that helps. That helps to have the names on them.
That's BU.
BU Bridge, excellent. Okay, so this is the BU Bridge. Okay, so what is downriver and what is upriver here?
I said downriver, upriver.
Send me the
Downriver is like to the right of us.
That's right. So what would be downriver? Once the river arrives here, where are we here? Where does the river go?
To the
Ocean.
To the ocean, into Boston Harbor. That's right. And as you can see, it gets thinner and thinner upriver. How long is it from the harbor to the end of the river? How many miles? There's something that happens at the beginning of the Charles River in a town called Hopkinton. What starts in Hopkinton?
That's crazy, but I don't even know.
Hopkinton. There are people who do something between Hopkinton and Copley Square every year in April. What do you think they're doing? And they do it as fast as they can, and they do it by foot.
March, they run.
They run, and what do they run in
Oh, well.
Boston Marathon? Very good. The Boston Marathon starts in Hopkinton. So keep writing down. You want to learn at least 20 things about the Charles River by the time I let you go here. That's my goal. So the Charles River starts in Hopkinton. So as the runners run, it's how many miles?
25. Oh, yeah.
That's something, 26
26.
point something miles. So it's 26 directly. But if you are a fish in Hopkinton, how many miles would you have to swim? Do you think it's less or more?
More.
More.
Less? You say more. All right, let's fight the battle out here. More.
Yeah.
Way more. Okay, how much more? At least twice as much. Keep the auction going here. Come on, who's getting closer here? Twice as much. It's more than twice as
I'd
much.
say like 4 times as much because the river like bends to, like.
It bends a lot, exactly.
If you straighten it out, it'd definitely go further.
Yeah, exactly. So it's 80 miles long, the Charles River. 80 miles long from the beginning of the Charles to the harbor, and 26 miles to Copley Square. That's right. So what we're looking at here, what I'm holding here is the urban Charles. So that is just 10 miles of the river. And we picked that because this is where the first dam occurs, the Watertown Dam. And we kind of put it.
Watertown?
Sorry?
Wait, you said Watertown?
Watertown, yeah.
That's the first one. The what? Dams and Watertown.
The dam is in Watertown, yeah. All right. So, but we still haven't figured out where you are here now today. We have figured out where BU Bridge is. What other thing would you know on this map? Anything else that you might recognize on this map in Boston? You go to school here.
Mm-hmm.
So what else do you know that is kind of near the school or near where you live or BU Bridge? What do you recognize?
It's close to the school.
So
It's not that close, but it's close.
Yeah. So do you know any of the other bridges across the river? Have you crossed any bridges?
I only crossed BU.
You only crossed
BU.
BU. All right. So I think it's time for you to get your new bike. Any of you have a bike? You need to get a bike. You can get a bike for $50 at Bikes, but Bikes Not Bomb. You go there and you work 2 afternoons and you get a bike for very little money. Get a bike, because a bike is a wonderful way to get around the city. On both sides of this river, you have bike paths.
Mm-hmm.
So you can bike all along the river and further upriver, and along the harbor, it's a great way to get to know your city. Because if you live in a city, you want to know your city. So that's an important part. So here you have BU Bridge. Then you go further up, you come to the River Street Bridge, the Western Avenue Bridge. And then here's a pedestrian bridge that you might have seen that goes to the business school. And this bridge is under construction now, the Anderson Bridge. And when you cross that bridge, you come into Harvard Square. And then you can go out either Cambridge Street or Broadway. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah,
That's where you are.
right there.
Okay, so you are actually only about 3 blocks from the river. All right? So your ambition should be that you go down to the river and you kind of learn some of the bridges that are along the river. Knowing where the place where you live is very important, because then you feel it's your place and you get a sense of that. All right, time for your question. I asked you a lot of questions.
I have one.
Yeah?
Your bio said that you worked with a lot of public improving businesses.
Say that again.
Your bio said that you were not an administrator, that was the urban architecture and design, but you have to improve other public areas. I have to ask you which ones were those.
Well, before I started the Tscharner Conservancy, I had an institute called the Townscape Institute, and we worked with maybe about 100 towns and cities all across the United States and some in Europe. And what we did is we would be called in by elected officials, and they say, oh, here we have a town, but how can we make this town more special? So we had meetings just like we have today, and I tried to find out, why is the place where you live, what makes it special? Where do you live?
I live in Dorchester.
You live in Dorchester. So what makes your neighborhood, what do you particularly like about the neighborhood? Is there a place you like? Give me a place in Dorchester that you like.
Neponset.
The Neponset, yeah, the Neponset is a beautiful river, similar to the Charles. That's near the Neponset. So you try to find out what is it in a place that you really like, and how can you make the place that you like more memorable. Often the Neponset River has a similar problem to the Charles. It's there, but you can't get to it. So there's a Neponset Watershed Association, a group that works to make trails along the river, to make the river visible. Often they're just there's so much vegetation or dilapidated buildings, you can't even see the river. How can you create even a vista to the river? Rivers are, I call them placemakers. They really give character to the place. That's why I'm interested in the Charles, because I feel the Charles gives so much character to Boston and Cambridge. We really need to emphasize that. So that's an interesting question. So that's what I'm interested to find out, what gives a place character and how can you strengthen that character. Yeah. Another question.
How do you feel after completing a project?
Well, it's often not so clear-cut, but I'll give you an example. We've been working for now about 13 years of having a public swim in the Charles River. And we were able to do that on the 13th of July. It took 6 months of permitting. It was very involved. We had to have 1 lifeguard for 6 swimmers. If you've ever been to a pool, there's normally not 1 lifeguard for 6 swimmers. Then we had problems finding lifeguards. Then the state said, well, it has to be even safer. Each swimmer has to be a buddy with another swimmer. And then you can imagine when you try and sign up a lot of people, you have to find out the buddies, find each other, and they go into the water. But it felt wonderful. So yes, we accomplished a community swim. But then you realize there are many more steps after that. And now we're trying to have more swims. Now we're having to try to have permanent swimming. So this was a first step. So often when you accomplish one thing, you realize, oh wow, there's more here, there's more here. It's like finishing kindergarten. You're so proud, you graduate from kindergarten, and you realize, well, now I have to learn how to read, I get into first grade, and you graduate from elementary school, middle school, high school. But there's always more to learn. But it's also an exciting process, and I assure you, once you finish high school or college, you will continue to learn. I feel I learn something every day, and that's also very exciting. The same with projects. It's never really finished. You learn and you move on.
Yes. The bio also said that you train as an architect and urban designer in Switzerland. How long were you down there for helping?
Well, I grew up in Switzerland, so I studied architecture and city planning before I immigrated to America. So that was when I was very young. Yeah.
Yes.
And but in a way, you pick a field. What do you think is going to be your field when you study? What do you think you want to study?
I'm not sure.
Pick a field. Pick the field. If somebody forced you, you can go to college in that field, or you're not going to college. What would you pick? Medical.
Maybe like a vet or something.
Vet or medical. Okay, pick something, because then you suddenly start to see the world. Oh, if I was a doctor or if I was a vet, what would I do? What would I want to learn? And then maybe there comes a moment you decide, well, I'm more interested in the psychology, or I'm more interested in administration. You can always shift, but it helps to have a particular field in mind, because that focuses you and shows you a perspective. What is the field you would choose if you went into a degree or a field?
Yeah, I'd also be a medic.
Also medical?
Yeah.
All right.
I more neurobiology, like to study of brain and
Yeah.
so.
That's a fascinating field. That's vastly exploding now with all the scans we can do. We can now figure out, how the brain coordinates what we do, how we feel. It's a vastly expanding field. Yeah. What about you? What field do you want to go into?
Computer engineering.
Computer engineering. Yeah, that's needed in every domain. Except when I went to university, I went to a school in Switzerland, an architecture school. I did not even have a computer. Can you imagine? We had no computers. Everything. Huh?
That's horrible.
No, it's not horrible. It was just a very different world. So computers are a wonderful thing, and I think that's a great field, and then you can apply it to many different areas. Great. What about you?
I have a lot, but I never know which one I want to choose.
Pick one now. You can go to college on that right now, or you can always choose. Pick. You can always change later. What would you pick today?
I might have to be entertainment law or something.
Entertainment law.
Yeah.
All right. So you're interested in law and entertainment.
Yeah, like famous people, celebrities, whatever.
All right. So you're fascinated by celebrities. Start by the law.
Well, like the law, being right or having my argument,
Okay.
heard.
Good. I think the law is a fascinating tool that you can apply, whether they're celebrities or you can apply to medicine or, yeah, I think law is a very good basis. Any field is a good field. Pick teachers you like. Pick a field you like, then pick teachers you like, and you can, try to learn as much in your field as you can, and then you can apply it to other fields. Great. All right, any more questions for me?
I actually have one that
Yeah.
isn't written here. You say you work with a lot of nonprofit folks. Like with your background, you studied architecture in Switzerland, and you have that skill.
Mhm.
Like, what made you go into nonprofit when you had the skill to make buildings and you can make a lot more money
Yeah.
from nonprofit?
All right, that's an interesting question. So people who work in nonprofit doesn't mean they don't take a salary. Nonprofit just means that nobody makes a profit. That doesn't mean people don't earn salaries.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things. Many hospitals are nonprofit. Government is nonprofit. So there are a lot of institutions that are non-profit. That means there are no shareholders who profit from your work. It's the public that profits from your work. It's just a different mindset. And yes, my goal is to do something that I love to do. Obviously, we all need to earn a living. But I don't necessarily want somebody else to profit from my work. Because if you work in a normal corporation that is publicly traded, then part of what your work is benefits a shareholder. It's a different system. So, but you make an assumption that people who work in non-profit are not as talented as others.
No, I'm not.
No, but it's important that you question your own question, because the most talented doctors, we have a lot of doctors, they all work in a non-profit. All the most talented teachers, that's all non-profit. That's the non-profit world. So you need to question your own understanding, what is non-profit.
I understand, like, you make a salary, because you have to have some money. Like, I know that. I'm saying, like, architecture, like, I'm pretty sure, like, architectures make, like, quite amount, like, a good amount of money.
Actually, in a funny way, architects in the most recent recession, 30% of architects were unemployed. So architects, it's very prone to recession. It's a very tricky business. But I've always been in the non-profit, so in that sense I wasn't affected by that. But these are, as you think of future careers, you wanna think of where you see yourself in the field. Whether you wanna work for corporations, maybe get a higher salary, but part of what you produce, of your product, benefits somebody else, a shareholder, or do you want what you produce as a doctor, as a neurologist, do you want that to benefit the patients and the general public? So that's the big question. Not so much because you have a good education, you can earn the biggest salary. You want to make sure that at the end of your life you feel good about what you do. At the end of every day you want to feel good about what you do. Yeah, interesting question. Good. Can I answer any other questions? No more questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's kind of irrelevant to the river island. I know you bike around the river and stuff. I was gonna ask you, do you use those kind of bikes that are built for distance, like with the skin tire?
All right. So I think you're gonna get a bike, huh? I hope so. Good. Well, my bike is attached outside your school. I have a bike that has very fat tires, so that I can, because there are a lot of, unfortunately the bike path is not very smooth everywhere, so I want it to be, I can go over bumps. And then I don't like this kind of biking, where you kind of don't see anything. So I have a bike, I'm sitting straight up, as they call the old ladies bike. I sit straight up, and I have a big basket in the front, a big basket in the back, so I can have my bag in there, my groceries, everything. So I have a bike. But if you want to go fast, then you obviously want thinner tires. It depends what your goal is. My goal is to bike in the city. I go to every meeting on my bike. I bike in the middle of the road, and cars honk much less than they used to 10 years ago, because they realize, well, maybe that's one less car, maybe that's not so bad. And you need to figure out what you want your bike for, but the most important part, get a bike. Get a bike, and then you feel you can always trade it in for another bike. Get the joy of biking in this city. I tell you, this city was a very different city 10 years ago. Mayor Menino hired a woman. She is maybe 5 foot tall. She was an Olympic bicyclist. Her name is Nicole Friedman. And we call her the bike czar, like in Russia, the czar. And she has worked with Mayor Menino to turn Boston into a biking city. So Boston has now over 60 miles of bike lanes. It's an amazing city for biking. So do out and explore the city. It changes your whole life and perception. Then you get to know the river and your bridges. So that's what I want you to do. I brought a poster for each of you today. So I'd like you to study that river and never stop asking questions. And before you ask somebody a question, always go Google them, Google their information, Google about it so that you get a sense of that. That's what learning is all about. Curious, curious, curious. And what have I learned today? What can I learn today? That's what is very exciting about living in this age, because we have computers. Imagine when you had to go, I worked in the library when I was in high school, middle school. You know, you had to go in and look at the card catalog, you had to order a book, then you had to come back 2 hours later and you got the book. There was no looking up on the internet, anything. You had to go and get a book for everything. So you're living in an age where things are really, it's easier to learn.
Now, did you always ride bikes before you got into this? Like,
Did I always bike?
Yeah, were you always like a bike owner? Like, did you always ride when you were younger?
But the thing is, I grew up in Switzerland, and when I was a child, I biked everywhere. My parents never drove me anywhere. We were 5 children, and there was no question anybody would drive me. I walked to school, I biked to school, I went to the Girl Scouts, I went bird watching, swimming, everything I did by bike and by tram, by subway. A subway, just over a tram we had. And it was not a car culture, very different. So I love biking. I think it gives you enormous independence. I think being driven by your parents is kind of sad, because you're not part of the world. You're kind of in this little cocoon. So conquer the world, get your bike, go out there and make the city your own. You live in a great city, great institutions to learn what you want to do. Go for what you want to do, and if you want to switch it, but have a goal. That's important. Great. Do you have any questions?
Sure, I have one.
All right.
I want to ask, when was the last time you went to Switzerland?
That was over Christmas. I thought I went skiing, and I had an accident the very first day, so that was not very successful.
Yeah.
But I normally try to go to Switzerland once or twice a year. Yeah, but this year I'm postponing it because of the swim we had, and yeah. But there's so much. Each time I'm in Switzerland, I see of how they handle bikes. They handle bikes in a much more dramatic way. They have special lights for bikes. They have underground parking for bikes.
What?
Underground parking, because they have so many bikes. And if they wouldn't have that, the public spaces would just be filled with bikes. So they created very elegant underground garages with nice ramps. You can bike into an underground garage for bike, and there's a shower. If you want to shower, you can lock it up, you get maps, you have air, you have tools. They treat bicyclists like first-class citizens.
Wow, have you picked up your pace
Sorry?
since you first started? Have you picked up your pace, like biking and stuff, since you first started?
Well, I'm getting older. I'm getting better. The thing is, my goal is not necessarily to go fast. My goal is to have it as a mode of transportation. So I'm never going to be a fast racer, no. But I can go, 10 miles without too much exhaustion. So it's my exercise. I don't go to a gym. I just bike. Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Great. Well, I wish you all the best. I think it's great that you go through the effort to prepare questions, and that's always a good start to think ahead and prepare things.